Quella! Eccoci alla seconda puntata dedicata all'intervista Andrew Gower.
Ok, tutti presenti. L'ordine del giorno?
Ma che cavolo è una squadra antimostri?
Siamo noi. Noi siamo la squadra antimostri.
E da quando?
Da adesso, ragazzi. Dracula potrebbe essere qui.
Ma attenzione, in questa puntata ho voluto fare una sorpresa ad André, mostrandogli la riproduzione dell'amuleto da me realizzato e identico a quello usato da lui nel film. Vi dico solo, ne è rimasto entusiasta. E a tal proposito ci siamo fatti raccontare molti aneddoti interessantissimi riguardanti il film e per l'appunto l'amuleto.
What's your fondest memory or moment while filming?
You know, it's usually everybody likes to say, how much fun did you have on that set? And did you get to go around and goof off and play games? And look, when you're shooting a giant motion picture that has a lot of money behind it and you're the kids on set, you don't get to goof around a lot. But after a couple of weeks of shooting, we all became pretty tight and basically became a group of friends like it is in the movie. So that's a great experience to go through where you can kind of gel and know these kids. And I had only known one of them prior to shooting. I knew Robbie Kiger, who played Patrick, but I knew nobody else. We're all kind of new friends. And it takes a little while to kind of gel and come together. But I remember that happening over a course of a couple of weeks. And then, the finished product is what you see as the group of kids on screen. But shooting wise, so I think that's something that you take away that's very important. But I think just the experience of being part of this production, which was not only a kids' adventure movie, but it's also a creature feature with giant special effects and big budgets and monsters blowing up in midair. And, there's a body count and all this stuff is going on around you. And if you take a second to step back and realize what's going on while you're shooting this movie, it's amazing. And I don't think a lot of people, they're so focused on what they're trying to do, which you should be. But every once in a while, I remember staying late or staying after my work was done for the day and watching what we were doing as a whole. And I got to see some really cool stuff. Like I'm fascinated by the creature effects and the work that the Stan Winston guys did with the monsters. How they worked on set, the actors in the monster suits of what that entailed and the amount of hours and time that it took to do that. And then you get to watch, some great stunts and some great special effects in camera. And then, I remember standing behind the camera, watching Wolfman blow up in midair, which is a great scene. And it's a great shot. And I remember being there and watching that live, even though I wasn't in that shot. So it's some good memories going back and remembering those little things of what you got to see that most people in the world don't get a chance to experience. And then also, like I said, coming away with a really cool experience of working with this group of people, have no idea that you're all still going to be, friends and supporting each other and working together, 30 something years later, which is really neat as well.
So, do you own any interesting props or costumes relating to your participation in Monster Squad?
Let me see. Yes, I do. The one cool thing, this doesn't happen all the time, but I was fortunate enough to be able, I actually have my entire wardrobe. And most important of that wardrobe is the Stephen King Rules shirt, which, at the time we had no idea that it would become, a piece of kind of genre film iconography. But I still have that original Stephen King Rules shirt. And, that's kind of neat to have.
Okay. Now, I have a surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. Do you
Aha! Wow, look at that. Holy moly, that's a great one. And it's lighting up.
Aspetta.
Okay.
Holy cow, there we go. Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
L'amulet.
Yes.
Okay. Since for me, Monster Squad has always been a particularly dear movie because it is linked to make childhood and to get the idea with the making props and special effects. A few years ago, I I decided to pay homage to Monster Squad by reproducing for the collector's market the amulet that you used in the film. What do you think?
I mean, from what I can see, that looks amazing. That is a really, really good job of replicating that awesome kind of custom-made thing. Yeah, I can see it pretty good. I can see it well. There we go. Yep.
Thank you.
It's that's amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Look
it's
at that
completely
thing.
made with a Glaston and resin structures.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Looks fantastic. Everybody should have one of those.
Yeah,
Everybody should go and buy one of those.
In details, every little things.
Only
Looks fantastic.
Yeah, because on the web we can find a few photos
That's
from
right.
the movie, so not a close one to the.
Can you talk about the amulet?
Yeah, what I do remember the amulet is the the art department and the effects department kind of designed that screen used amulet, and I think there was 2 of them made, or maybe 3, and it looked just like that. It's fits in your hand. It was very cool. It looked old. It looked funky. It looked like it could open a portal to another dimension. And
there are 2 or 3.
Yeah, there's only 2 or 3
pieces.
of those of the real one, and I got to handle it throughout a lot of the second half of the movie. And what we did back in the day, because it was less, we had to run a wire through my jacket and into the hand of anybody that was holding it when it was lighting up, and they would shoot lasers out. It was actually a fiber optic, kind of laser line that was going through it to light up through the crystal to go back to have some of that light up material or that material
do
effect.
you know the origin of this amulet?
I don't. I think it was just the art department and the production designers of the film that came up with some cool design. I don't know if they based it off something that they had seen somewhere else. I'm sure they did. But Fred Decker, the director and co-writer of Monster Squad, actually kept one of the actual screen-used amulets, which there's only, like I said, 2 or 3 of them, I believe. And way back in the day, in 2006, when we had the very, very first cast reunion screening in Texas at the Alamo Draft House, one of the key individuals that made all of this happen in 06 was a guy named Eric Vespi, who was a film reviewer at the time, and one of his favorite movies was Monster Squad, and he got it all together. Little did we know that this was going to explode into the resurgence of the Monster Squad. And but we thought everybody would just had forgotten about this movie for 19 and a half years, and they hadn't. But Fred Decker had actually brought that amulet to that event in Texas and gave it to Eric. So Fred gave his only version of the amulet that he owned to this guy Eric, who's now a friend of ours. But that's one of his prized possessions now, and it's been a very neat conversation piece for him and us over the years. So that's the one out there floating out in the wild. That was screen used. Yes.
What was it like working with the director Fred Decker?
I always say that Fred, had a hard job. One, Fred was young himself. He was just 25 something years old when he was shooting his second feature, and he had a group of kids, which is, they tell everybody never to work with kids, in a movie. But he also had a giant special effects and monster creature feature movie that was done. So he had a hard job keeping this production, kind of on track, kind of getting what he wanted out of it. But what was great is he was surrounded by some really great people that helped him do that. And so I think that enabled Fred to concentrate after a bit on the things that were important to him, like dealing with us kids and getting sort of that, getting the context and the camaraderie and, the childlike enthusiasm out of us, but through telling of the story. And what I always appreciated about it was Fred, yes, he was the director. When you're on a set, the director is literally one of the people in charge and an authority figure. But Fred didn't come across that way. He came across as just one of the gang. He came across as the leader of the gang, but he was still just one of the gang. And, he was actually, kind of taking that leader of the squad for us on set, and always made sure that he took time to talk with us individually, to talk with us as a group. Because we had, a group of 4 or 5 kids that, were a range of ages going from 14, 13, 12, and 6 and 5. And, that's a lot of different kind of, kind of child minds to deal with.
Yeah.
And I thought he handled that in a great way by, becoming, part of the group, being the leader of our group on set, and then also having to turn around and make a movie at the same time, which was probably a hard thing to do. But I remember Fred always being there, always being supportive, always being, talking to us as, one of the group instead of an adult talking down to us. And that's always key when you're working with kids. Because if you don't handle kids right in general, let alone kids on a set, you can get some experiences that aren't fun for you, because kids have a tendency to shut down or go in a different direction. And because we're kids, and it's a tough thing to deal with kids, and it's a psychology that I think Fred handled very well.
What do you think of your co-stars?
I think they're the greatest squad team that you could have as someone of a group. Like I said, I had only known Robbie Kiger prior, and we had known each other for a number of years growing up, always auditioning kind of for the same thing, or, competing against each other for roles. And, when you got to come together very quickly and pretend like you've known each other your entire lives, I think with this group of kids, after a couple weeks, of kind of getting used to each other and getting used to the feel and the temperature of things, that happened. And I think that could only happen, like I said, when everybody's in the right spot. And, we all became a team, and we all became friends. And, Ryan and I were the 2 older kids in that group, and he's about a year older than I am. And then, so even after shooting, we would pal around and hang out. And then when the movie came out, we would, we go to the parties and the events together. And, we all stayed friends for a number of years, which was, you can't ask for more than that. And, then I eventually, we all went and did more work and grew up and got a little bit older. And I ended up going to college for, a number of years, and was out of the, kind of out of the mix for a while. And then, like I said, in 2005, 2006, we all ended up kind of coming back together because of this event and this Monster Squad resurgence. And we're all fantastic friends still to this day, except unfortunately for Brent Chalem, who played Horace, who passed away in 1997, which, we all wish, of course, Brent was still here, because he didn't get to experience this resurgence, and the fans didn't get to be able to interact with arguably everybody's favorite character. Look, everybody wanted to be Rudy, but everybody's favorite character is Horace, and because he's the badass, he's the one that everybody can relate to on some level, and he steps up and becomes a hero of the movie. And I think that's something that'll never go away, that he gave to that. And it's just unfortunate that he's not here to kind of celebrate and talk about it today.
Yeah.
So nice. You are still in contact each other.
Oh yeah, I just actually I've got to call Ryan Lambert later tonight and tell jokes and catch up a little bit too.
No.